Welcome to Live with Greg, or Live with Greg, depending on semantics.
So I'm here with Ashlyn.
Ashlyn Thomas.
Ashlyn Thomas. I wasn't going to say your last name, but you said it, so it's good.
Yes.
All right. And how old are you?
I'm 18 and I turn 19 in like 2 or 3 months.
All right.
Yes.
You're kind of family. You're the granddaughter of
Yes.
where
Grandma
I live,
Candy.
Grandma Candy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I might mispronounce this, but you were born with spina bifida.
Spina bifida.
Spina bifida.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Medically speaking, what is that?
So I have more than just spina bifida. It's a long name. It's spina bifida occulta with tethered cord. And spina bifida specifically is a neural tube defect that happens when you are in your mom's tummy. Usually they can tell that sort of thing with an ultrasound, but because mine was a little more mild whenever they did the ultrasound, they couldn't tell, because some people with spina bifida are born and they have an actual opening in their spine. Mine was closed. I just had a little skin tag at the base of my spine, and it had a bunch of nerves wrapped up together. So spina bifida varies a lot from kid to kid. Some people have it more severe, some have it more mild. I also have a tethered cord, which makes me a little bit different than other kids with spina bifida. That basically is a tethered cord that's attached to my spine, and it's really tight. It cuts off oxygen to nerves. So that's been the main thing for me that's restricted me with medical issues. So it really varies. They call it, I think, like the snowflake condition, because every kid is very different when it comes to spina bifida.
And the tethered cord, is that a nerve cord?
I'm not actually sure, because I've seen it in an MRI. I don't even know exactly what it is. I know it's not supposed to be there, or something I was born with. It attaches, I believe, to my spinal cord, and when I have my surgeries, they detether it, like they disconnect it, and I don't think they can take it out or anything like that. So when they detach it, after, like, it depends, it can be like maybe a year, it can be a few months, it'll reattach, trying to heal itself. And that causes me problems when it reattaches and I grow and it gets tight again, because then it'll cut off more oxygen and cause more pain. It feels like constant tension in my back. So, yeah.
So as I understand it, when you were little, it wasn't creating a lot of trouble as you entered puberty and really started growing.
Yes, because you grow through a big growth spurt when you turn like 13, and I'm like 5'8", 5'7", which was not perfect for my condition. Whenever I was younger, I used to run, like I could feel both my legs perfectly fine and everything. And then once I started growing a lot, around like 12, that's when it was starting to bother me again. And I had another spinal surgery. I've had 5 total. And my first one, I was 4 months old. They detached it, and I was good for 10 years because I was so little. And then I had my second one when I was 10 years old. And that one went really good. I was running again within 2 weeks. So I recovered really well with that. And then after 10 years old, then I really started growing a lot more. And by the time I was 13, I was like growing a lot, like maybe 3 inches in like a summer. Like I would really grow fast. And when I was 13, that was the surgery that didn't go so well. So since then, I've had a lot more surgeries, and I've had a lot more issues going on with everything. So, yeah.
When you say it didn't go so well, are you comfortable saying?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't bother me. When I had my third surgery when I was 13, they weren't able to actually detether my tethered cord, and there was a lot of nerve damage, and it affected my L4, L5 in my spine, and I couldn't feel, like, mostly from my knees down, different muscle groups that are affected from that area of the spine, like my feet, my calves, my glutes, my hamstrings. There was a lot that was affected with that surgery, and originally I didn't really know what was going on because I was 13 years old. I didn't really know the risks that come with a surgery like that. And I was always so fortunate that my other ones went really well, so I never really expected anything differently. But after that surgery, I was in the hospital bed it went really bad just in general. Like, I was feeling horrible. When they tried to get me up to walk, I was having a very difficult time just even sitting up. And when they tried to get me up to walk and I was using a walker, I was explaining like I didn't really feel my feet, like it just felt weird. And they were like, oh, it's probably just the anesthesia wearing off and everything. So I was completely unaware of what was going on with my body. And that was early into the summer. And throughout the whole summer, I was still using a walker and I was really confused what was going on. And my doctor that performed that surgery didn't really explain what was going on. So I was very confused and I was still in a lot of pain. So it was very hard for me to try and understand what was going on with my body. And luckily my dad, he looked into Boston Children's Hospital and we got a second opinion from a neurosurgeon there. And we went out to Boston like within maybe 6 months after that, and we did another MRI. My tethered cord was still attached. I was getting worse. By that point, I was using a wheelchair a lot because I was in so much pain just walking. And then they told me that it would probably be best to try and do another surgery because I just couldn't like handle that pain. It wasn't sustainable to just be in a wheelchair because of pain. And so we did another surgery, and it was like almost exactly a year later, which you don't usually have like 2 spinal surgeries in a year. That's not something you do. I mean, spinal surgeries just to begin with are very risky. So we did another one, and that one went better for sure. It helped relieve a lot of pain for me. Nerve damage though isn't something that just like will heal just from having another surgery. If anything, I mean, I think when you learn about the human body, there's like, you know, your skin, like it heals very fast, but like then there's certain things, certain cells that don't recover as fast or may not, like nerves can take like 10 years to heal if they do heal. So after my 4th surgery, I was still like using a walker and everything, but I worked really, really hard to try and go to physical therapy and get myself as independent and mobile as I could after that surgery too. So
has the experience from that surgery when you were 13 and the 2 surgeries in Boston, do you think given you more agency in your own medical care?
Like make me more involved and like care to know what's going on with my body.
Right, and the
Yes.
ability to speak out.
Yes, definitely. Which I was always like that when I was little. When I would go to the doctors, I would always talk to them, but I do think now I'm more like I want to know exactly what you're doing to my body. Like I don't want to get myself in a situation where I'm just kind of going with it because that's what I think is best for me, or like I'm just trusting what my parents say. I want to like really research what's going on. That makes me think of maybe I was around 14 or 15, I can't remember. I went to go see a pain management doctor because even though that surgery helped, I was still dealing with more pain because when you can't feel your legs, you know, from your knees down and you're using something to help you walk, you're compensating with other muscles, and that will, you know, make your back hurt more or whatever. Muscular wise, like you're gonna have some weak muscles and the other ones are gonna try and pick up the slack for that. So I was still dealing with more pain, but it wasn't from my tethered cord. And so we saw a pain management doctor because I didn't want to be taking like strong pain medications like oxycodone like I was prescribed. I would refuse to take those. And she recommended to try, I can't remember the name of the procedure. I think it's like Ryanus something, I can't remember. But it's where they burn your nerves in your back to try and like dull the pain sensation that you're receiving. And I didn't really like that idea because I mean a lot of my issues come from damaged nerves, so why would I, you know, purposefully damage the nerves? And they didn't have a lot of studies on it in like 15-year-old kids because it's mostly older patients, and didn't have a lot of long-term studies. And I was like, I don't really like that. And they said, well, let's try steroid injections first and see if that at least relieves some pain, because it would be about the same sort of feeling. And so we tried the steroid injections and I had no relief. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to put myself into this situation and like have it potentially cause more issues down the road. If I was getting nerve pain in my back from it, I have no clue how it would affect me. So that made me like really be more active when it came to learning about the stuff that was going on with my body and what the doctors said, because I think it made me kind of just not full-heartedly trust them. I have to kind of like make sure I'm looking out for myself the most, because I mean, some doctors are great and then some of them are like, you know, you got to be careful what they say, and you have to make sure that you can trust them and that they have your best interest, or they're not trying to just give you like a Band-Aid solution like medicine or whatever. So it definitely made me go out of my way more to learn about everything that the doctors would prescribe for me. So
is detaching this cord a part of your future for the rest of your life?
I am not quite sure, actually. So I mean, I'm about to be 19 years old, so hopefully I'm done growing. I should be. That's what they told me. Like 18 years old, you should be done. So it's already reattached. I had an MRI done, I think like 3 or 4 months ago, because I fell and I had a tailbone injury and I got a concussion. So we had an MRI done, and seeing everything that was going on, we saw that my tether cord was already reattached. And it might already be causing me a little bit of discomfort, but it kind of is a thing where I have to weigh, like, is it really that bad to the point where I need to have another surgery? Because it would be, let's say I had another surgery, it'd be my 6th spinal surgery, and that same spot has so much scar tissue, and it looks like an absolute mess in there to surgeons, because, I mean, there's scar tissue everywhere. There's spinal fluid sacs. There's just so much going on that it's hard to tell what is what, like deciphering even between nerves. So it's pretty risky to go in again. I don't think we're gonna want to do that. My surgeon that did my last one almost exactly a year ago tomorrow, I'll have had another my 5th one a year ago. He said that after this he wouldn't want to do anymore, and he is like one of the best neurosurgeons in the world. So for him to say like no more, I don't think anyone else would want to do that. And he said if I do end up having any more issues down the road, to maybe consider an orthopedic neurosurgeon that could do a spinal shortening and see if by shortening the spine it would relieve some of that tension from my tethered cord. So that's something in the back of my mind if I start having more issues a few years down the road, if I'm in more pain, to look into that, because the tether cord release is just, we don't want to do that again.
Okay. All right. So one thought I had in thinking about this was pain management. Like, what have you learned about the mental process of pain management for yourself?
Well, I think everything that I've been through, I have a very high pain tolerance. So when it comes to my usual back pain, I'm kind of used to it. And I mostly have a very stubborn or strong mentality when it comes to that, where I don't want to take anything, any sort of pain relief, even like ibuprofen, because it really doesn't do anything. I mean, I've tried a lot of different pain management things medicine-wise, and some of them help, some of them don't, but most of the ones that do help are just very strong, and I don't want to do that unless it's a really bad situation. So when it comes to my pain management, I don't usually take medicine. I usually just mentally try and like relax, kind of do whatever I can to take my mind off of it. And for me, there's multiple different types of pain I get, so I kind of have like things that I do for each type of pain. So like my usual back pain that I get, more muscular, I'll take like an Epsom salt bath, I'll relax some, maybe even like meditate, just relax, because usually muscular stuff, relaxation helps. And then if it's more skeletal pain, I sometimes do have to take medicine for that, because there's not a whole lot you can do for that. I mean, I can try and relax, but you can't really get your actual bones to relax like you get muscles to relax. And then when I get nerve pain, which is because I have nerve damage, sometimes my nerves flare up, I have to take medicine for that. And it's called gabapentin. A lot of people take it, especially people that are a little bit older that may have something like diabetes or other conditions that could cause them to have nerve pain. Like my grandma, she takes gabapentin for nerve pain. The only thing for that is sometimes when I get nerve pain, it takes like 2 days for the medicine to kick in. So, and it's like constant. So I'll just be like in bed and the pain's not going away. And it's probably the worst pain in my opinion, nerve pain, because it's like you feel like you're in pain, but there's nothing actually causing it. It's just the nerves like shocking and flaring up. So that one's pretty hard. I usually just have to try and distract myself from that, maybe like watch a happy movie or something to help take my mind off that. And there's just a lot of medical things that I have to take care of, and there's lots of different types of pain and ways that I try and manage it. But my usual pain, I have got like a pretty strong attitude when it comes to that, and I have different things that I've tried to help. I'm sure there's even more out there. Like as I get older too, there's probably going to be even more things that come out to help me manage my pain, for sure.
So have you looked into like the phrase mindfulness, the kind of, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely explored all of that. I remember when I was like 12, before I had I might have actually been younger, I think I was 9, before I had my second surgery that went well. My mom had me see a therapist just to get like even mindfulness practices and different things. She gave me meditations to try. So I started doing that from like a young age. And back then I didn't really need it as much because I had that little kid attitude, like that everything's going to be fine, I'm going to be okay, because I never had anything else happen with those surgeries. I had such a like good attitude. I knew it was going to be fine. As I got older, I had to rely on that stuff more to like try and help calm my mind. I mean, I think we all know like when we're younger, usually we just have a little bright, cheery attitude, and then you get older and there's more things to worry about and more responsibilities. So mindfulness definitely helps me now. And I mean, sometimes I forget that's like a tool that you have, and then if I'm feeling anxious, I can just take a deep breath and I can like instantly feel that relief. So I think it's really cool that we all have that like just there whenever we need it to try and just clear our mind. And especially being in nature for me really helps, being outside and outdoors and listening to that just kind of calms my mind personally.
Have you experimented with white noise and nature sounds when you're having the nerve pain?
I think that's mostly the sort of recordings that my therapist gave me when I was younger. They were sort of nature recordings, and then someone talking, kind of telling you what to do to relax, kind of like a guided meditation with nature noises. But I don't know if I've ever used white noise before. I've heard of it. I mostly listen to nature noises. Like if I can't sleep, I'll put on like the Calm app and like listen to rain or something, and that helps me a lot. But I don't know a lot about white noise.
And so is pain just a part of your 24/7?
Yes, yeah. I don't usually have a moment where I'm in no pain. That's very hard to come by for me. I mean, I have had those moments, but it's mostly 24/7. I mean, laying down is the closest thing I get to relief because my muscles aren't like tense. They're not trying to work hard to help me try and walk. Sometimes swimming is really good, getting like the gravity off me, the pressure. But it doesn't last super long. It's mostly anything that's like pulling my body down, like with gravity, like standing up, sitting. Things like laying down and fully relaxing or being in a pool is the most comfortable for me.
So right now you have a sensation of pain?
Yes, yeah. And about my low back, my tailbone area, just because like I said, I had that tailbone injury earlier this year. So, but it's better than if I were to be standing up, because then my back would be trying to stabilize me and keep me upright if I were standing. Yeah, it's a lot. But I mean, you get used to it, you know, like you adapt to how your life is. So you get used to it. Like, I mean, this pain to me is very minimal. I've experienced like way more pain than this. So it doesn't really bother me much.
Well, two things. I guess one is there the hope? And is it plausible that you've experienced the worst of your pain in your life from just strictly a physical?
I think so, yeah.
That's a plausible scenario.
Yeah, there's points I can think of, like with my surgeries, that I was like, this is not pain that I could handle for longer. Like this, I mean, it was temporary, but like it was very hard to manage that pain. Probably my bad surgery that went really poorly was the worst pain I had been in. I know it was really hard for like my mom to see me like that, because she could tell that was the worst pain I had definitely ever been in. And it was overwhelming for a kid to like have to deal with that. And I mean, I think probably my third surgery would be the worst pain I've been in. I mean, the entire experience was horrible. Even just waking up from the surgery was horrible. I remember, I guess I had a bad reaction to the anesthesia, but as soon as I woke up, I threw up, and they had to like roll me out of the bed, roll me back into it. And after you have a spinal surgery, even literally moving to your side is excruciating. So them like rolling me out and putting me back in made me more nauseous, and it was horrible. It was not a fun experience at all. I mean, I can remember all of that stuff very vividly, that surgery, because it was definitely the worst pain I had been in before.
So you're back home after this third surgery.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find hope in that moment?
That was a really hard summer. I've always had a very hopeful attitude. I've always tried to find the positives in things. I was kind of also taking things day by day. Like, I wasn't too worried about the future because I was dealing with so much in the moment. I remember just every day was very difficult. I'd kind of just lay in bed most of the time, and there wasn't a lot I could do. I was still in a lot of pain. I remember after that surgery, spinal fluid went from my head to my incision, and my incision was like that far out. It hurt to even wear pants because of how swollen it was. And so even if I like moved my head, it was painful because the spinal fluid left my head and went to my incision. Even like touching it, it was all really horrible. So kind of day by day, there was a lot going on with my body. I remember we had to go to the hospital because we thought it was infected because of the spinal fluid, and I was kind of just in bed most of the time, bedridden, and I kind of tried to find things to do, like watch movies with my sister Kayla. We would watch like Marvel movies, like superhero movies, and those helped me a lot. Those have a special place in my heart because of that, so those helped. I kind of just did anything that made me happy, like even playing some games. Like my friends would come see me. I even had a pastor come and pray over me, and that helped a lot, like give me some peace and just like know that I was going to be okay. So just things like that. I think too, it really helps to have a good attitude about it, to kind of just be like, everything's going to be okay, even if my body is different now than it was before. Like I'm going to be okay. So that helped.
Is there any gift that you see in the challenge that you have?
Yes, definitely. I've never looked at everything I've been through as like a regret, I guess. I've never been like, oh, I wish I could go back and like not have that surgery or not have spina bifida. I mean, maybe the surgery a little bit more is a hard one, like knowing what I know now that the surgery went bad. But even then, I've taken everything that has happened to me in life and like tried to learn something from it, and just the person I am now versus the person I was then, like how much growth there was.
So what is your gift that you have, or one of them?
I don't know. I know that, I don't know, as a whole, the development I've had, like, in character, I'd say that is a gift, because I feel like I have more empathy for others and, like, compassion. I feel like I've learned a lot, too, even just about my body and, like, neurology and nerves and things like that. I think, too, if that's what it took for me to kind of realize what I wanted to do in life, then I'm happily going to take those experiences, because for me, after that, I was going to physical therapy like 3 times a week, and that became such a big part of my life, and I realized I was always excited to go to physical therapy, and I enjoyed it so much. I loved learning more about the body, and so now I want to become a physical therapist. So for me, having that experience and having that, like, help show me what I want to do, I think that's really hard for some people to figure out what you want to do. But when you have an experience like that and it shows you and you want to help other people, I think that's priceless to me, like, to have something like that happen and to be able to have it impact you like that.
So you're going to start college this coming fall?
Yes.
At LSU?
Yes. As of right now, I'll be doing kinesiology for pre-physical therapy. And I'm right now debating between becoming a PT, like going for the whole 7 years, getting a PhD, or being a PTA, which is a physical therapist assistant. They do very similar things. One of them's a lot of school, one's less. So right now I'm kind of weighing the pros and cons between that, but ultimately they'll be doing basically the same thing I want to do. And I think I'd really like to work in pediatrics with, like, little kids, to see even other kids with spina bifida, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, like a bunch of different things that would require them to need physical therapy. I think that would be really cool. I think I'd really love that. All right.
Is there any excitement to leaving the safety net of home and being out on your own?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I whenever I was probably like a sophomore in high school, I was wanting to, like, graduate early, because I was so excited to, like, be independent, because even though I have all these things going on with my body, I always want to, like, be as independent as I can, because it's kind of frustrating sometimes feeling like you need help. So I kind of, like, have this desire to want to be able to do everything on my own. So I'm very excited to be able to go out there and do things on my own, but I think it's hitting me now that I'm going to be a little sad, like, leaving my family and friends and everything. So it's a very bittersweet, weird, like, time of my life right now, trying to enjoy summer, but, like, trying to, like, hang on to every moment I can with family and friends and all of that. Yeah.
Is there anyone that you know that's also going to LSU?
No one my age that was, like, at my school or any of my friends, but I do have some friends that are already at LSU, so that helps a lot. I probably know, like, 3 friends, and I know that I'm going to be involved and, like, make new friends. They have a lot of clubs, like physical therapy clubs, a bunch. They have so many different, like, activities that you can get involved in, so I think that'll be really good to make new friends, meet new people. So I'm very excited about all that.
I know in my life there's people that I look to for inspiration and support, just even characters. You know, I don't know them, but are there any people that you find you regularly turn to for that kind of personal support and inspiration?
When I was younger, I probably looked to my mom the most for that sort of thing. She was always, like, very comforting to me. She was always there for me, and, like, she helped me so much mentally, like, be able to handle everything. And my family is so important to me. As I've gotten older, there's not, like, one particular person. I think for me, more of, I kind of rely on my faith in God, and I pray, and I use that kind of as my model, like, you know, reading my Bible and learning about Jesus, and kind of just trying to have that same sort of kindness. I think that's the only person I probably can think of that I try and, like, look up to. I mean, it's kind of like a relationship for me, you know, praying and feeling that comfort, that I can't think of anyone else that I necessarily, like, look up to. So
is prayer and Bible study a part of your daily routine?
Definitely prayer. I know a lot of people that are also Christians that struggle with always reading the Bible because it's hard. It can be hard to decipher everything. Definitely praying. I have a devotion that I read almost every day, but I kind of more of focus on my relationship with God and praying. I try and read the Bible. Sometimes it's a little hard. I mean, especially when you're younger, trying to understand it all, it's a lot, but definitely, absolutely praying, because that gives me so much comfort. That was such a huge mental relief for me with having my surgeries, kind of feeling like it wasn't in my hands anymore, because I know a lot of people, they feel like they have to have things in their control, which I am absolutely like that. I try and keep all my life in control because there's so much I have to try and control for my health and well-being. But when it came to my surgeries, there was nothing I could really do for it other than pray and be like, okay, this isn't up to me. I have to have hope that I'm going to be okay. And that was huge for me, especially my last surgery, because that one was the probably riskiest, because I mean, it was the 5th. And by the time you get to that many surgeries, it gets riskier. And I think that was when I could kind of tell my growth when it came to my faith, because I was at complete peace with it. Whether I was completely healed, or for some reason when I woke up and I could run again, I could feel my feet again. If I didn't make it in the surgery, complete opposites, either one I was okay with and I had peace with, which was really comforting to me, to not be worried about what was in my control.
So you have a lot of peace in your life.
Yes, yeah,
That's awesome.
I try. I mean, there's a lot to worry about, there's always something to worry about, but I try really hard, because there's so much that people want to try and control, but there's some things that you just can't. So
Right. Recently, I had this job where I was taking on the role of someone who was handicapped,
Mm-hmm.
and what they were talking about is this sort of freedom people thought with approaching a handicapped person, and being not conscious of what they were saying,
Mm-hmm.
kind of being rude, they wouldn't. Do you find that to be true in your life, where people come up to you and ask you personal questions that they wouldn't ask a person
Oh, yeah.
without crutches?
Absolutely. Definitely. People sometimes will just stop me and talk to me, which it really doesn't bother me, because I'm an open book when it comes to that stuff. I don't mind talking to people about my medical needs. Some people, it does surprise you that they have the audacity to ask some stuff. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can tell you so many stories of people doing stuff like that. One time I was with my mom and we were grocery shopping, and I was in a wheelchair because it's a big store. We were going to Sam's, so it was this big store, and I was in my wheelchair, and a lady stopped me and she was like, how are you so skinny in your wheelchair? She's like, I know someone in a wheelchair that because they can't walk, they gained a bunch of weight. And I was like, that's kind of not your business, to be honest with you. I was like, I mean, I can still walk with crutches, and I go to the gym, I go to physical therapy. She was like, oh, okay. I was like, that was a little weird, to stop me just to ask me about my weight because I was in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So definitely weird experiences like that. And I really struggle with that because I don't look so much different than everyone else. I mean, I have crutches and I have some atrophy in my muscles because they have nerve damage. But for the most part, I look pretty average, just a normal person just with crutches. If I'm driving, you can't tell that I'm handicapped. And I've had an experience where I have a handicap tag and everything, but I was parked in a handicap spot at a store. And me and my friends were sitting in the car, we were listening to music, and then a cop comes up to me. He tells me I shouldn't be in the handicap spot. And I was like, what? Yes, I should. I have a handicap tag, I have a handicap card. And he's like, I'm going to have to see your handicap ID. And I was like, okay. And I was shaking at this point. I was like, I better have it on me. And so my friend, I pass it to her and she gives it to him. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, it's just some people, they think they can park in these spots and they can't. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's just, you didn't have to be so rude about it. I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, why is he? Because even after I told him I'm supposed to be in that spot, he's like, you shouldn't be here. And I was like, okay. It's hard when some people assume that I'm not handicapped, and then they find out that it's an awkward situation. it's not fun. I get super anxious about like using like a scooter at a grocery store because I feel like people are going to stare at me and think, oh, she shouldn't be in that, even though I can't feel my feet. Like, it's hard to walk. I get tired, but some people are so judgmental towards that sort of thing, and I struggle with that a lot, like worrying what other people think of that sort of thing.
Okay, this is a very personal question, so you have full permission to say
no.
yeah, too personal. Let's.
Okay.
Do you have aspirations of motherhood, of being?
Oh, yeah, I have that doesn't bother me. That's probably like one of my biggest goals in life, to be honest with you, family, because it's so important to me. I really want to have a family someday, and that's something I'm probably a little bit anxious about, but I know when the time comes that I'm gonna, see the right doctors for that sort of thing. There's not a lot of information on people with spina bifida having kids. I do know that it's more likely to have a child with spina bifida if you have it yourself. But there's different things that I can try and like take vitamins, certain stuff for that. What were you gonna say?
So there's genetic aspects to the disease?
Yes. They honestly don't know exactly what causes it all. There's no one in my family who had spina bifida. I think some of it can be genetic, environmental, like how you take care of the baby when you're like having the baby. And then sometimes I think it can be completely random. Like it's more likely to prevent having spina bifida if you take folic acid, because that helps develop the neural tube when you're pregnant. And I think the hard part about that is usually you have to take that within the first very, very early. Like some people don't even know they're pregnant yet. Like the first whatever, I don't know how many weeks, because that's when it's forming. So that is something that's hard for people to know, when to take those vitamins. So for me personally, it'd have to be 100% planned. I'd have to see like a high-risk OBGYN to make sure that I do everything I can to try and have a perfectly healthy baby. So
That's very cool to hear.
Yeah. And I have no problem talking about that, because that's a big goal of mine for sure. Awesome. And I've tried to do as much research on that sort of thing as I could. So.
Well, the only other thing that comes to mind that I haven't brought up is with your spiritual relationship and your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. Even in the Bible, it's pretty common that someone is like, hey, what the F, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Have you had those moments in your relationship with God where you're like, what? Yeah,
and I think anyone who goes through any sort of trials in their life, if you have a relationship with God, it's going to be like, why? Why am I going through this? That does not happen to me often, because I kind of have the mindset that everything happens for a reason. And I've been able to see that like in my life, that because of everything I've been through, I've been able to inspire other people. And like there's goals I have in life to maybe like write a book and like spread awareness of this sort of thing, that I'm able to see that there's a purpose behind everything I've been through. So probably more when I was younger and it was harder for me to understand what I was going through. I had a hard time with that. I think my parents, especially my mom, had a hard time with that it's really hard. If I was born with this and this was the only thing I would know, it would be different, but to have the freedom to run and like play sports and be super involved and not have the pain I have, and then completely like 180 and lose that all, that was very difficult. So I think that was probably the time in my life where I struggled trying to understand why. But as I got older and I started to develop more into the person I am now, I could understand that it's made me a stronger person. There's a reason behind it. And I kind of have the peace that if one day God chooses to heal me, that would be amazing. And if not, I'm okay with that as well. I'm happy with the way my body is, even if it's a hard body, if it's complicated to take care of. I just appreciate what I have anyway. Like I'm thankful to be alive and to be able to do the things that I do. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you would like to share with people, like a life lesson where you're...
I think for me, maybe the biggest thing that I would learn from all of this is to really like count your blessings and be thankful for what you have, because I mean, someday you may not be able to walk, or you may like go blind, or you lose your hearing, like things that we don't even like realize we're so lucky to have, things that we just completely take advantage of in our life, that like someday you may not have that. And so it's really humbling to be thankful for what you already do have, because we're all really blessed. We're all very lucky. There's so many people that have it worse. And I think that's why, for me personally, I don't like pity myself in any way, because there's so many people that have it so much worse, and I have so much to be thankful for. And there's just a lot of stuff I could like write pages and pages of stuff to be thankful for, because there's a lot in our lives that, I mean, it's miraculous our bodies work the way they do. So there's so many things that could go wrong. So it's so important to like every day just be thankful for what you have.